my name is Christy Hartman. Welcome to the Inspirational Mini Canvases. These are my inspirational mini canvases. They don't want to sit on the board. They are tremendously easy to paint. They're a lot of fun. They come in a variety of different sizes. I've used the 4x4 inch sized mini canvases, which you can get at Michael's, Joann's. I'm sure Hobby Lobby carries them. I've never looked there, but I'm sure they do. We're going to add a slip slap brush approach to the back of the canvas for the background. We're going to add some painted papers. We're going to add some book paper or some music paper, whichever you prefer. And then we're going to add a word, a name, something that probably means something to you, or you can use whatever word I use on my canvas too, which I will give you the lettering for in the PDF. So these are very easy to paint. They're super fun. They make great gifts. These little mini canvases are 4x4 by about 3/8 inch thick. They're very light. If you add some sort of paper or scrapbooking paper to the back, they make great ornaments. I have sold these as ornaments many times over. You can also get the wider ones, which are about 1/2 inch thick. I think I got this one at Joann's. They work just as well. They're a little heavier. They also have a little sturdier frame in the back. They're also a little bit more expensive, but they work just fine. You don't have to use the canvases. You can actually use a wood piece. These are 4x4 inch wood piece. This one is a masonite piece. This is a wood piece. They'd work the same way. They'd be great. This one is actually an ornament. You can see it's got the 2 holes that are already drilled to hang it from. This one you would have to drill a hole and add a hanger to it. You can add to the tops of them. You can add a little screw eye to them, and they'll hang great. So that's our project today. That's what we're going to do. It's going to be short. It's going to be quick. I'm going to show you how to do it. They're going to be great for your shows. They're going to be great for gift giving. You need a few supplies to complete this project. First of all, you need whatever your surface is going to be. Today we're going to paint on the mini canvases because I like those. They usually come 2 to a package. This is what the package looks like. These are Artist Loft from Michael's. They come 2 of the 4x4s to a package. The smaller ones come more to a package, but I wasn't able to pick any of those up at Michael's the other day when I was there. So we're going to paint on one today. We're going to use a variety of things for painting. We're going to use Deco Art paints. You can use the Americana. This is the fluid acrylics. You can use whatever kind of acrylic paint you want, but you want to use acrylic paints. We're going to use a couple of different colors, and I'll go through those in a minute. You're going to need some Deco Art gesso. I love this media gesso. It goes on so smoothly. It is so great to paint on. You need some paper. You're going to use book paper. This piece of book paper came out of a used book that was probably going to be thrown out by a library, and I just ripped the page out. You can also use music paper. Music paper, you can get it. Lots of secondhand stores carry these. You can buy an entire musical score, rip them up, cut them up. We're going to actually tear them up today. They make great background pieces, and they are very inexpensive. You're going to need some deli paper. This is the Cabinet Wax brand. I think I got this years ago. They came 2 boxes. I got them at Costco for like $9. You can get them anywhere where they sell restaurant supplies. They're very inexpensive, and they work great for any time you want to use paper that is thin and semi-transparent. You're also going to need assorted stencils. These are just random stencils. You don't have to have any stencils in particular. I think this is a 1/8 inch checkerboard. This one is, I think, a Dilution stencil. just anything will work. There's stars, there's a chevron, anything will work. It doesn't have to be what I'm going to use, mostly because you're going to tear up a lot of it. You are also going to need some paintbrushes. We're going to decoupage our papers onto our canvases. So you need an old brush. Don't use a good brush. Decoupage is a glue, and I love this product. This is an amazing product. I use the matte, Decoupage matte. Use an old brush. Only use it for this purpose. If you use this brush for anything else, you've ruined this brush for anything else. So you want to just always keep this brush for using with your decoupage. If you have a different decoupage material, use it. You're also going to need some paint brushes. To paint our papers, I used a stencil brush and just a wide scruffy brush. This is a Royal, this is a Papillon. Any brand you have will work. The last brush we're going to use is a 3/4 inch. This is a Dynasty Black Gold. Love these brushes. We're going to use this to paint our background. But before we get started, we're going to paint our mini canvas with black gesso. You can also buy these mini canvases already with the black canvas, and that works great too. If you can find those, do it. If you can't, I happen to have the white ones on hand. I just painted it with black gesso. I like how black gesso mutes my paints. It gives it kind of that antique-y look, which I really like. And it also gives me, the black gesso gives me a great surface to paint on. If you prefer white gesso, use it. There's no right or wrong way to do this. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to paint our papers. Now, deli paper has two sides. It has the smooth side, which has some wax on it. You can paint on it. I prefer to paint on the other side, which is the rougher side. So we're going to take a variety of different colors, and I am just using random colors. There is actually no rhyme or reason to them. I just picked out some colors that I liked. One is electric pink. I'm going to add a little dollop here onto my, move that over so you can see it. Added a little dollop onto my, oh, by the way, I also use the deli paper for my palette. I like it. I just like want to throw it away. I don't. This one I have to clean, but I don't like to clean my palettes anymore. This is a little bit of alizarin crimson. Don't need it very much. I'm going to add a little bit of this sizzling red glamour dust paint. Just a little bit. I'm also going to add a little bit of this media fluid acrylic from Deco Art. It's the Pyrrole. Nope, this is cadmium orange. I like cad orange. I love these paints. I have a pattern for this project on my website at www.chartmandesigns.com, and in that pattern I've used these fluid acrylics to paint this entire piece, and I also did some gel printing. We're not doing gel printing today because I know many of you probably don't have access to a gel plate. If you are interested in gel printing, I have a video on my YouTube channel which shows you how to do one type of gel printing. There's all my paint. I also just added a little bit of green, the sour apple. So instead of gel printing, which, let me show you some examples. These are examples of my gel printed papers. So here's one. Look at how transparent that is. You can actually, you put such a thin amount of paint on when you're gel printing that you get this transparent look to your paint. It's gorgeous. This one's another gel printed paper. This one is too. Notice how I put this one. I love all kinds of, you can see all the texture and the stencils on it. And then this was a cleanup page. Turn it the other direction so you can actually see it. This was a cleanup page from a gel printing session, and then there's another gel printed page. Now, if you're interested, go to my website. There's a direct link on my website to my YouTube channel and subscribe to me. I have some interesting videos on there. But today, we're going to paint our papers instead of gel printing. Here's one. I used reds and oranges on this one. I have one here that I just kind of cleaned up my brush off of, basically, but I really liked it. And then this one, you can see I also added, to some of them I've added some stenciling. I had some letters, a lettering stencil there. And this is super simple. Do it early on in your process though, because you definitely want these to dry before you start adhering them to your paper. That's why I'm showing this to you before we paint our background. So I'm going to use this stencil brush. I could also use this one. Either one would be fine. I love both of these brushes. And I'm just going to kind of double load my brush. And honestly, I don't have to double load. Well, maybe I'll triple load it. Let's do that. Yeah, so see how I've got that triple loaded? I'm going to take it down to my deli paper. Again, I'm painting on the side that doesn't have the wax on it. It has the rougher texture, and I'm just going to add some paint. And I'm going to paint circles, give it some texture, and I am thinning out this paint as much as I possibly can. Once I have used up a lot of that paint, I'm going to go back into my palette, and I'm going to grab some of this orange. I'm going to grab some of this lighter red. I'm not going to put the green in yet because that's just going to turn to mud, but I am going to add some of my glamour dust. And again, I'm just going to start adding more. See how that just adds beautiful texture? And I'm not going to cover up the entire thing. I want to leave some spaces here because I really want that look of transparency to show up in my inspirational canvas. Okay, now I'm going to go back in with a little bit of pink, and I'm going to go in with my, I don't want the orange. Let's see, let's do that. Did a little bit of orange and I did the pink. And I can go over the same areas that I just painted. But notice how I'm leaving some space in between my color. Okay, well, I'm kind of liking that. I do want to, however, add a little bit of green, but before I add my green, I want to add a little bit more glamour dust because I want that bling to show up. And I'm going to put a little bit more orange in here. Now, for any of you that understand color theory, you're going to know that if I add green to wet paint, what's going to happen? Well, in your head, you should be answering, I'm going to end up with mud, because green and red are complementary colors, and they're opposites on the color wheel. So if I add my green now, I'm just going to end up with a muddy mess. Sometimes you want that muddy mess, to be perfectly honest, and sometimes that's what you're going for. So sometimes that's very appropriate. But for this case, for this instance, I don't want that. Okay, I think that's good. That's about all I'm going to do for right now. I'm going to grab my dryer and give it a quick dry. Let's use this one that I just put away, this big one. This one will work. So I'm going to, again, load this brush. And this is actually a Royal Crafter's Choice. I love this brush. This is a great brush. I'm going to actually take some of this off because I want it to be faint. See See how I took a lot of that paint off of my brush? And I'm just going to start gently adding, just going around in circles. And I'm just adding little bits of green here and there. And this paper is dry, so for the most part, I'm going to get kind of a neutral color because I'm using such a small amount of paint over the top of my red that it's actually going to show up as almost a neutral color. Because basically it's color mixing through the transparent layers of my paint. I'm going to add a little bit more. Take some off. Again, see how I'm leaving those areas without paint on my paper? But I want a little bit more of this in and around here. And just leave a little bit more paint on here. And I'm honestly barely touching the paint, or touching the paper. Make sure you can see this. I think that's good. I like that. That's really pretty. I'm going to grab a stencil. I'm going to add a darker color. So I could use my dark red, but I'm not going to because I want kind of a little bit of a contrast. And I grabbed this phthalo blue out of my media. You wouldn't have to, just grab a dark blue. And I'm going to use my Crafter's Choice again, which, believe it or not, this one is dry. This is not the same brush that I just used. I'm going to load that brush, and I'm going to take most of this paint off of the brush. And look at how pretty that blue is. That's going to look really, really nice. I love this phthalo blue. I'm taking most of it off. I'm just using this as a 1/8 inch. I think I got, this one comes from Creative Arts Lifestyle, Patty Rawlinson. This is a great stencil. I love this stencil. I use it a lot. And I'm just going to a little more paint. And I'm lightly going over the top of that, and I got a nice little checked area. I'm going to add another one. If you use a different type of brush for stenciling, use it. Use whatever you use. There's that other one. And I'm going to add, I'm going to go a little darker this time. I want this one to be a little darker. I want that bolder look. I'm going to add a couple of them here because I got plenty of paint on my brush. Yeah, look at how pretty that is. Isn't that gorgeous? I love that. So, there we just completed our paper. So, let's bring back our little mini canvas, and I'm using my 3/4 inch wash brush. I'm going to use three different paint types. I'm going to use alizarin crimson. I'm going to use Santa red. Can you see that? There we go. And I'm going to use white. The white changes the value, and if you don't know what value is, it's the areas of light and dark that show up. But the white changes the value of these two paint colors. And I chose a darker paint color and a lighter paint color. I'm really thinking that these could be Christmas ornaments. So I was kind of going for Christmas colors with these. So I'm going to lay out on my palette, I'm going to lay out my white, my Santa red, and my alizarin crimson. I'm going to take my 3/4 inch brush. I'm going to load it with my white paint on both sides. And I'm giving it a generous glob of paint, just like that. I'm going to dip one corner into Santa red the other corner into alizarin crimson, and see how I've got kind of that double, triple loaded type brush. I'm going to pick up my canvas and I'm going to slip slap my paint onto my canvas. Doesn't matter where I start. I'm just going to do this. And when I have, and I'm leaving some areas of black, as you can see. Areas of black. And you can see the black through the paint because I put it on here pretty light. So I'm going to reload my brush with white, dip one corner into Santa Red, one corner into alizarin crimson, and I'm just going to start slip slapping that brush all around, trying to begin the process of developing my paint color. I'm doing the edges. I'm going to leave that so I have something to hold on to. And you can see what I've got here. Now, is this done? Absolutely not. I'm going to load back into my white, and I'm going to add just a little bit of white, just here and there. Just because it blends those paint colors together even better. I'm going to dip into just Santa Red onto my brush. This is a completely and totally random paint application. There is no right and no wrong way to do it. And believe me, you can't mess it up, because if you do, if you're not happy with the result, do it over. Okay, let's keep doing this. And I will continue building and layering my paint colors until I've got something that I'm happy with. And I'm not terribly happy with this yet, so I'm going to give it a quick dry so that I can start building the next layer. I need more white paint because my white I've used up completely. So I'm going to add more white paint. I'm not cleaning my brush. I'm just going to leave it. Load my brush again. Load my brush again with white. Dip into Santa Red. Dip into my alizarin crimson. This is damp, but it's dry enough that I can work with it. And I'm going to start going over the top of this. And I want to develop darker areas and lighter areas. That time I just dipped into alizarin crimson. Now my pattern, Inspirational Mini Canvases, talks about how to use the DecoArt fluid acrylics on these. And I think the fluid acrylics are gorgeous. I love them. But you can also use, I wanted you to see in this project that you can also use the Americana paints. So I'd love for you to go to my website, take a look at that pattern, and develop your own inspirational mini canvases. All right, there we go. Let's add a little bit more of our dark paint back and forth. This time I have both my Santa Red and my alizarin crimson on there. And I didn't put white on my brush. I just wanted to get a little bit darker here. This time I'm just going to add a little bit of white, just to kind of, it almost looks like Valentine's Day to me. Okay, and you know what? I think that's done. I think that's plenty. I've got a very modeled look to my background. You might look at it and say, oh, it looks a little messy. And it does, but we have a lot of things to do to it yet. So here's my sample for what we're doing today, and that's where we're going to go with this project. I'm going to dry this off camera. When I come back, this will be ready for us to work our magic with the next step. All right, I'm back, and this is dry. Well, it's relatively dry. It's still a little damp. But as I looked at this, I sort of decided I wanted a little bit more black on it because I didn't leave quite enough black showing from my canvas. So I'm using a little bit of lamp black, and I'm just going to rough in, and I'm still just slip-slapping that paint on just to add a few areas of the black paint. I put one right there. I've got this end. I'll put one over here. And I kind of just dab that brush on there. I'm really not, there's really no real brush technique to it. I'm just kind of dabbing, slapping the brush on there. Okay, I think that's enough. I like that. Now, the next step is to grab this piece of deli paper that we just painted. And I want to lay my deli paper right over the top of my canvas because I want to look at my canvas and figure out what do I like that's there and what do I want in my paper. And I'm actually really liking this right here. So I'm going to grab a pencil and I'm just going to kind of circling that area that I really like. Don't know if you can see that pencil mark on there. Probably can't, but believe me, it's there. I'll darken it in just a little bit. Now you can see part of it right there. And I'm going to use my fingers and I'm going to tear that out. I don't like these papers cut. I want them torn because I like the random look of the torn paper. If you are a person who likes nice smooth edges, go for it. You do what's best for you. I personally like the torn paper look. Okay, so I've got that piece of paper and I'm going to lay that right there across my canvas. No, I like it there. And I want it to cover up that little bit of black. Just a little bit. I think I like that. But I want to do one more thing to my canvas because I want bling in the background as well. So I'm going to take just a flat brush and I'm going to take some of I still have it on my palette, my Glamour Dust. This is again Sizzling Red, and I'm just going to apply some of that Sizzling Red over the top of those areas. We need a little bit more. Just to kind of give my background a little bit of bling. And I'm really not doing it with any real thought. I'm just kind of placing it on here. Put some on the sides. Okay, I think that's enough. And I'm going to dry that really quickly. That's good enough. All right. Now I'm going to look at this again. I do actually like that. I'm going to look, because I actually painted a number of these before prepping for this class. I have a few extra pieces, and that would be my recommendation to you, would be, we painted one in class, but do a few of these. So you've got some different values of your color right here. So I like that. I like that on there. I think the dark kind of pulls the blue out from here. I don't necessarily like it just like that. So I'm going to grab, which I did on my sample, I have the music paper here, and then I've got my deli papers in the background. Now this one was a different color that I was working on when I was doing the samples for this, and I ended up with a blue and purple background. This is basically this, and then the other one is more of the oranges here. So that, let's see, do I like that? Yeah, that's a maybe. So I'm going to grab my music paper, and I've got a couple different sizes here. I've also got some book paper if I decide that I don't want to use the music paper. I'm just going to lay that on there. This side has actually more musical notes on it, so I'm just going to rip some of that out. Tear it. And let's see what I've got here. And I'm going to tear a little bit more away from this. And that's all this is. This is a matter of working until you find something that you're happy with. And I'm going to overlap these a little bit. This one's kind of an L-shaped. This one's kind of a squiggly shape, I would call it. And I'm going to lay those just like that, because I really like that. And then I'm going to place that there. Pull this over just a hair. Ah, there we go. I like that better. Okay, so that's what I'm going to do. Let me see how I did that. This one's going to go on first. Let me get this stuff out of the way. I'm going to grab my decoupage. I'm going to get my old brush, because I don't want to use one of my good brushes. I am going to wet my brush slightly before using decoupage. I like to use a wet brush. And I'm just going to eyeball where I'm going to place that piece of deli paper. What does deli paper do? Well, deli paper, because it has a transparent quality, becomes transparent. Semi-transparent, I will say. I'm going to put that on top of my paper towel. And I put glue on both sides. And then I'm going to lay that right over the top of where I put the decoupage. And I'm just going to rub it with my finger. Come back in over the top of it. Rub it to try and get as many of the bubbles as you can. These are such small pieces, you really aren't going to have that kind of a problem with it. Kind of eyeball where I want this piece to go. Lay my decoupage down. Decoupage the back. And lay this. And I'm going to give this just a little bit of a... If I didn't get any glue, put it in. over the top of it. Rub it down. Perfect. And then grab my music paper, and I have enough. I'm going to need a little bit of decoupage up there. I have enough decoupage on here, I won't need too much more. I'm going to add my decoupage to the back. Lay my music paper down. And that simply, let me show you both sides. I have finished decoupaging my paper. When I come back, this will be dry. We'll be ready to start adding our word, and it literally is that simple. See you back in a few. All right, you can see that this is now dry, and I added these two little sections right here because I thought I needed a little bit more of the orange color in there. I just wanted a little more color. But if you look carefully, you can see how transparent that is. You can see the music paper through that. You can see actually through to the canvas on some of these areas. That's the beauty of deli paper. Now, if you say, I don't like deli paper, I don't want to paint on it, then you can use regular paper. You can use scrapbooking paper for this, but you won't get that transparent look to it. All right, next, we're going to use some metallic paint. Now, this is the Media Fluid Acrylic Metallic Paint. It's my favorite. If you don't have this, any metallic paint will work. You don't have to use just this one because I did. You can use any of them, but we're going to paint with our fingers, so we're going to do a little finger painting. So I added my gold to my finger, and I'm just going to wipe the gold right onto my canvas, and I'm just kind of going over the edges and just adding in a little bit of metallic gold. And there's no real rhyme or reason to it. I just add it and change it as I see fit. And I like to use my finger. I think a brush, you get too much paint on here. And again, you want that, see how that's transparent? All that's done is muted down those paint colors, but it's giving it a gorgeous gold sheen. And finish up as much of it as I want to. I can add some to my paper. I'm going to put some over here. And sometimes I do all four corners, sometimes I don't. It just depends what I like, what I feel like doing. I just like the gold over the top of the black. I think it looks kind of cool. All right, so that's pretty much what I'm going to do with the gold. That's simple. I'm going to add a little bit more here. And I want a little bit more on my edges, so I'm just going over my edges just a bit more. And if you say, I don't like touching paint like that, then don't. Use a brush. It's up to you. You could use a brush. You can use gloves. You don't have to put it on your fingers. It's up to you. You can use a paper towel, wipe it off. But you can see on this one where I added the gold, I added actually a little less gold to this one than I did to this one. And they're equally as effective. Same thing with this one, a little bit more gold on that one. On these samples, put the gold over the blue. So there's lots of ways of doing this. I just like that you get the gold on there. All right, we'll be back in a flash. I'll let this dry and we'll be ready to start lettering. I wanted to show you a couple extra canvases that I had completed. This is one where I added some of that paper that I had used when I was gel printing. Again, you can find that one of those videos on my YouTube channel. And then I added some of the paper that we painted here, and I added book paper to this one. This one I also added book paper to. This is a gel printed paper. This is the paper that we painted together today, and of course some book paper. And both of these have got gold around the edges. So I could have used these had I chosen to for our project today, but I wanted to show you how this project is going to look, because we're going to paint the word wish with lamp black, and then we're going to add some white highlights. And this is what our finished product is going to look like. And then of course, again, I could put paper on the background, I could turn this into an ornament, or I could set this on one of those little mini easels and just put it on display in my house. One more thing that you might want to think about doing, since these could be Christmas ornaments, is you could possibly write names on these. Highlight them with the white, and then sell them at your shows. Just another option. So I am using the deli paper to transfer my word wish. I've written the word wish on the front. On the back, I scribbled graphite on it. I would position my paper down onto my canvas, and then I would transfer, using a stylus, this word, which I've already done. I also want to show you a trick. This is another little trick that you can always do, which is kind of a design element. I wrote the word wish out on deli paper because I was sort of thinking maybe I'd want to try painting the word in that phthalo blue that we had used when we were painting our background papers. And then I laid the word wish down on top of my canvas, and I could just determine a little bit if I like that. I liked it okay. I wasn't in love with it though. I still like the contrast of the black. So I also did one in black just so I'd have the opportunity to look and see which one did I like better. And I ended up going with the black, and then I wanted the white highlight, which I have right here. So those are two options. Now here's a third option for you. Some people really like this, some don't. I could have, this is actually done with black marker because I didn't want to do this, but this is another option. I could have painted my word wish onto my deli paper, highlighted it, and then use my decoupage and decoupage this to the front of my canvas. It works great. I didn't want to do that. I wanted to see the actual contrast of the black right up next to the background. What this does, and I would have cut this out just a little bit better. You don't have to cut it out perfectly because a lot of these edges will disappear once you add your decoupage to this. But it still always is just a little bit, it's not quite completely transparent, and I didn't want it to look that way. But if you are somebody who really kind of frets about doing any kind of lettering, do it this way. It's a lot easier. So what we're going to do is we're going to use a script liner. This is a Dynasty Black Gold 20-aught. I'm going to take my lamp black, going to load my brush, and just made a puddle, and I'm going to pull that puddle out onto my palette and just kind of clean it up. Now, The first thing I always do when I start, I pull my brush towards me. So I'm going to start up here and I'm going to pull right down to the base of my W. Just like that. And I'm going to outline my W. I'm going to come back in, start up at my point, pull down to my other point, turn my canvas slightly, pull this down, and then I feel like I have a little bit of a blobby thing right there, which I don't like. Then I can come back in and fill that in afterwards. I'm not going to do it right now. I'm going to wait. I'm going to pull this towards me, either direction, and same thing here. So you can see that it's now outlined. I'll go back in, fill in the spaces, just like this. And I'll need to do a second coat on this too. So I'm going to do that off camera. I'll be right back. All right, so I painted my word wish. I put 2 coats on it. I also began adding my white, and I'm going to do a little bit of it just to give you the idea of what's going on today. You actually can add as much highlight as you want to this. It depends on how much room you have. Some people have a really light touch with a script liner, other people have a firmer touch. So it just kind of depends, but I'm going to be able to put in a little bit of the white. And I made a little bobble there. So I'm going to get rid of that if I can. And I just did. One nice thing about painting on anything that you've decoupaged is it's easy to remove paint. It acts like a sealer on top of your paint, and it makes it tremendously easy. I like to put a line right there, and then come down. Went all the way. Turn it this way. And I've got one more. Okay, I think this needs to be a little darker up in here, so I'm going to pull my line a little darker. All right, so there we have the word wish. It's finished. I hope you enjoyed this project. If you like this project, I have an entire pattern which shows you how to paint all of the other canvases that I showed you earlier on in this video, and also talks a little bit about using the media art from DecoArt, the media paints, which I really like, and I think you will too. So I hope you enjoyed this. Come see me at Hartman Designs, and hopefully I'll see you next month for my full length lesson. Talk to you later. If you have any questions, feel free to email me.